tell us a little bit about Poli Hale, about what that means and what
Polihale.
the significance of the area?
Polihale is an area on the southwestern side of the island, or usually people just say the west of the island. But you're talking about the beach way over by Barking, in that area. Okay. It's on a very dry area. It didn't used to be dry, however. That whole area there used to be filled with lagoons. It was a big, huge migration area for birds in the ancient times. In the more modern times, when lots of the land was sold or put in the charge of Europeans, who actually became the chiefs of the land, one in particular, a Norwegian, drained that whole area to use it for sugar plantations. Okay? But there are villages out there where the most well-known is a place called Mana. And there's big, right out there, ruins right near the beach of this big village. Some people think that's a Heiau temple, but it isn't. Those are village foundations. The Heiau is up closer to the cliffs, and there's very little of it left. There is a drawing that was made of it in a Bishop Museum monograph, but a bulletin they call it. But it's very hard to find. I found it, and you can still find traces of the foundations, partly buried in the sand, and partly leading up a slope. Okay, so it was a long, narrow type of temple there, and the name of that was Polihale, too. Now, Polihale was also the wind in that area. Oftentimes, the Hawaiians would name places after winds. And so they would name the land, and they would name a temple, and they would do all the naming from the name of the wind. Poli, hard to tell exactly what was originally meant, because all we have are fragments of names nowadays. Poli is a word that means, it's usually translated figuratively as bosom or chest, and really means armpit. The area is an area that Pele landed at. And Pele, in the story of Pele, who landed on Kauai looking for fire but found water, she brought with her her sister, her youngest sister, who is called Hi'iaka Poli o Pele, which means the usual translation is Hi'iaka in the bosom of Pele, referring to her love, Pele's love for her younger sister. But Pele can also, like I said, mean armpit, and because it means armpit, it can also be a poetic name for the womb, because Hi'iaka came to Kauai in the form of an egg. So we don't know for sure, but maybe she was also Pele's daughter. Okay? That's a possibility. At any rate, Hale means house. Polihale by itself would mean house of the bosom, which hardly makes any sense. So maybe at one time the original name was longer, which often was the case, and it could be, might have been Haleo Hi'iaka Poli o Pele, which would mean the place where Hi'iaka stayed. We don't know that for sure, but Polihale by itself doesn't make much sense. So it was probably part of a longer name that was even maybe mixed around. A lot of names in Hawaii today are like that. Okay? Okay. Yes?
Wasn't an area near Polihale also jumping off place for spirits?
That's true. In fact, it was that temple. There are a number of temples up in the hills and around in that area, but the one that was right on the beach was a Leina. Leina o Kapo is what it was called. Every island, every major island, had a place on the western side, a temple on the western side called Leina o Kapo, which meant leaping off place into the spirit world. And that Polihale was the temple there was that place for this island. Because in the beliefs of the Hawaiians of the time, or in the symbolism they used, the west, where the sun set, was the entrance to the spirit world, which is called Po. Okay? And so people would bring their dead there to have a ceremony done so that their spirits would enter Po immediately. It was believed that people who died who were not able to make it there wandered around until they could find the place, and then sat in the branch of a breadfruit tree as a ghost until the branch rotted and they fell into Po. Okay? One of the legends. And all that took place at the Lena Okapo, the leaping off place.